These videos are about regular people talking about the things that divide us, immigration, race, Trump, etc., so they might offend you. But I hope they're useful, like some videos I made about home repairs that help thousands of people. You see, I hate doing my own home repairs. I don't want to listen to a professional home repair guy who makes it look easy. TV pundits give me the same vibe. I don't want to listen to these people. When you see them on TV, they're at work. It's their job to talk about this stuff. They're not really interested in learning from each other and fixing the problem. They sure don't ask the questions I would ask. So me and my brother, who is himself progressive, we drove to 22 cities and interviewed dozens of people who support progressive causes. And I learned this: it's our feelings that divide us, feelings driven by personality. Some of us want to be the innovators, the trusting, the idealists. Some of us want to be the managers, the cautious, the realists. And each of us builds a fortress around our feelings that you can't break through with facts and arguments. But maybe we shouldn't try. Apparently, evolution or God or whatever made us this way for a purpose. I think that purpose is that we need each other to get the full picture. I know it works that way with other things, but we have to talk to each other. If we don't talk to each other, we won't make progress. We finished by driving from San Diego to Yuma, Arizona, where we met with Doug Jennings, co-founder of Yuma County Indivisible. Originally from eastern Pennsylvania, he's been in Yuma for more than 20 years, and because he travels frequently to Mexico, he has learned a great deal about the issues surrounding the U.S.-Mexico border. And he's worked to assist Mexicans who have been picked up by U.S. Border Patrol and were brought into our immigration court system. We started by asking him what he thought about how Donald Trump is going about things.
People don't, they're not used to it. But, he's a businessman, so, we just have to find the right tone to set.
I remember when we first started hearing people talk about a global economy, even the very best defenders of globalism would say, now there's going to be some winners and losers, there's going to be some local pain as factories relocate, etc. But it's all going to be offset by the less expensive prices for goods and services. Do you think that trade-off has been worth it? I mean, we've seen 35 years of it now.
No, because, people take pride in the things they do. Whether it be making chairs or making a table or making curtains. People take pride in that. So to go to a cheaper country just so your profits can rise, and companies have to take responsibility for helping their employees. And by laying them off and going to a country where they pay somebody 50 cents an hour or whatever it is, you have a responsibility there.
That is so nice to hear somebody say that. I cannot believe, I just can't believe that we've decided it's a good thing if we just take all these folks. I mean, my grandfather was a janitor, right? I don't think there's any such thing as work that's beneath you, right?
No, I mean, my grandfather told me no matter what you do, if it's picking up garbage or running a company, do it with pride, do it with ethics, and enjoy what you're doing. Nowadays, it's not like that, and that's what we need to get back to.
I agree wholeheartedly. I can't believe that we just went down this bunny trail of globalism. I can't believe it. That's why I love what Trump's been doing. I think he's scaring the globalists to death. I really think, and I'm very happy about that. What about income inequality? Do you think income inequality is a problem in this country? You hear people just bemoan the fact that now, like the differential between the average guy's wage and the president of the company's wage is just so great. And like the richer are getting richer and the poor are getting poorer. Mm-hmm. Like President Obama said, at some point you've really made enough money. And I'm thinking, I don't know, it doesn't sound American to me.
Well, see, America, it's all about the dollar. Okay, you made your first $1 million, but how did you make it? Did you compensate your employees that helped you make that $1 million? Mm-hmm. And now people are struggling to make payments on their house or their car. But yet we got these billionaires that are getting richer and richer on the backs of the hardworking people. So, I wholeheartedly believe in raising the minimum wage because it's not going to ruin the small businesses. It's just going to enhance them. Their employees are going to be happier. They're going to work harder for the companies. And, it's a lot better for the economy all the way around. Don't forget the people who helped you make that million. Yeah. Give better health care, insurance to your employees, where they don't have to pay $1,000 deductible. Make it easier for them because they're going to make more money for you.
Here's one thing that worries me a bit when you said you had support for the increased minimum wage. There seems to be unintended consequences that come with making kind of broad changes. During the 40s through the 70s, we thought we were going to solve a lot of big public housing issues by building these giant high-rise apartments in the city, the projects that cause so much human misery, and now are all being torn down. I don't think anybody understood that, even though all the experts agreed that was the best way to do it, like you get a lot of experts now that say increasing the minimum wage would be a good thing, right? There are so many times when the government has done something on a broad level that's ended up being absolutely catastrophic. It makes me worry about, it's the tube of toothpaste. You push down here, it comes up here. We don't really know what effects a minimum wage is going to have. Does that give you pause to think?
It does, but like with the projects, especially like in New York, the government drops, they'll start a program and then a new administration comes in. So then they cut the money to those programs. So, we need to make sure that if we start a program, we stick with the program, we don't cut from that program. Because, the projects was a good idea. They just cut it so much where people were left to defend for themselves. And, we can't do that.
Okay, so you think in this case that the tweaking is okay, making these large kind of tweaks to how people get together, in this case, how urban housing works, right? That was okay, we just didn't fine-tune it enough.
Yeah, the government dropped the ball, and us as voters, we let them do it.
Okay.
Because if a government isn't doing what you want them to do, then you vote them out of office.
Okay. Is there any kind of an intervention like that? Is there any kind of a government, and you can take as long as you want to answer this, but an instance where we did do that kind of tweaking and it was phenomenally successful, it was administered well?
Programs get cut, they get dropped so much, and it's hard to answer that question.
No, it is. Yeah, it is. And I should have warned you beforehand.
That's all right.
See, that's, again, getting on my soapbox, that's where conservatives keep coming from, is because I can point to a half a dozen things where it was just an absolute debacle. I can think right off the top of my head, the Great Society programs. We don't know why the unwed mother rate is now 70% in African American communities, right?
Yeah.
We know before a Great Society program was around 25%. Who knows why? Some people claim drugs were brought in by the FBI. There's all kinds of crazy ideas, right? There's been over the decades this kind of switching back and forth between kind of big government administrations and small government administrations. I don't know if that's a positive or a negative, but it just seems to happen. I was very, very happy when Reagan came in, because for people my age, that was the first time we saw anybody do something that actually changed things and seemed to make things better. So he was big on small government, lower taxes, et cetera. And before that, I know Kennedy lowered taxes. And Nixon did price controls for who knows why, right? God, he's a Republican, for goodness sake, right? Doing price controls. But, there's been back and forth, and then Johnson with the Great Society, then Clinton, it was kind of middle of the road, and then Obama and Bush. And so to me, it seems natural, like a pendulum swinging, that we go back and forth between these big government and small governments. So I know that we were very depressed when Obama won the first time, and the second time conservatives were, because we thought, oh my goodness, big government now, this is going to be terrible. And it did swing in that direction. And now we see this as a natural corrective. But on the progressive side, it's like, oh my goodness, this is the end of the world. What do you think of the reaction? How do you perceive the reaction from progressives to the election of Donald Trump?
Well, I know a lot of people were very depressed. A lot of people went into hibernation for 6 months because they were so depressed. I think he is what the country needs. It's good that he's stepping in to make the changes when we keep repeating the mistakes. It's just how he's going about doing it. When he came here for a visit, I've done interviews and I told everybody, this president isn't like all the others. And even though I might not like him, but I still respect his office that he's in. So he has the opportunity to make changes, but he's not doing it. Or he's making changes, in the wrong direction. And I still hope that he'll come to his senses and say, you know what, maybe I'm too aggressive. Maybe I need to play more politics and do things nicely, but.
Would you be comfortable talking about his temperament? Because I don't want to,
his temperament.
Because if you say the wrong thing nowadays, even the people that are on your side can pummel you. But you're a guy from Allentown. I'm from outside of Philly. We kind of know where Trump's coming from, right? I think it's not my imagination.
He has the New York attitude in Washington D.C. and that's not a good thing.
Aren't people being a little thin-skinned? Wouldn't you say?
Well, sometimes yes.
Okay.
He just, number one, he's from New York. Number two, he's a businessman. Mm-hmm. So he speaks what's on his mind. He needs to step back and rethink before he speaks. Just like, anybody does. We just can't go and say, fire, but yet our president can tweet what he wants, say what he wants, act the way he wants, and no one is holding him accountable. Mm-hmm. My family holds me accountable when I do stupid things or make, mistakes. We need to hold him accountable as well.
Do you think it's a legitimate concern that people who are, lower skilled workers would be concerned that we do have an immigration system that doesn't seem to enforce the border, so that there is competition coming in from other people who are low skills? So, the classic thing is in construction, hanging drywall, that kind of stuff.
The issue isn't that the Border Patrol isn't patrolled. It is. I mean, I go to San Luis, Mexico all the time. Mm-hmm. Coming back to cross, the line takes about an hour to get through. And then a lot of times you get sent to secondary. So the border is being patrolled. I don't think that, people are worried that the low-paying jobs are being taken away. Who's going to do them? Who's going to go pick the fields, the lettuce fields and the cotton and all that? You don't see any white people out there doing it. It's the hard-working immigrants that are here legally. They have work permits, they have visas, the proper paperwork, and they're doing the hard work that we Americans don't want to do. Mm-hmm. Yuma is known as the lettuce capital of the world because all the lettuce that we grow here goes all over the country. Well, who picks that lettuce? Mm-hmm. You can go to any lettuce field, look at, 20 20 to 25 employees, and they're all Hispanic. You know,
Why do you think it is that? See, we've all read Adam Smith. We know that there's a free market where prices and wages are determined by what people are willing to pay and et cetera, what people are willing to work for. Why is it, you think, in this particular industry, in agribusiness, for some reason, the whole thing falls apart unless you have a kind of a worker class? I mean, when we talk about segmenting society and treating people as second-class citizens, are we really saying that this is an industry that simply doesn't work unless we have a group of people who get less than citizens? Is that really what it's come down to? We just say that that's just how the agribusiness works,
No,
and we're all comfortable with that.
It's not falling apart. I don't see it falling apart. I see it as Americans think that job is beneath them. And the hard work. Being bent over 12 hours a day, picking lettuce or whatever crop is growing that season, that's hard work. And Americans don't want to do that work.
Well, that's the thing, though. If you could say, well, okay, next is hotel workers. And next after that is janitors. I mean, you could just go down the list, and all of a sudden we're like ancient Rome, where all the soldiers are captured, enemy, and the Roman citizens are on the dole. I mean, it's not a healthy trend.
No, it's not. And
we're bringing in folks who are not citizens to do the menial labor.
Well, if Americans want a change, then go work in the lettuce field. Go work in the hotels.
That's the problem. If we hadn't started the Prosero program, wouldn't wages have just gone up? Wouldn't have been a point at which, working in the fields, you're making $25 an hour, and lettuce costs, $5 a head? I mean, why is the free market so anathema to everybody in agribusiness? Why is it we're having this kind of horrific experiment, which we're treating Mexican laborers like lab rats, where we're just saying, hey, this seems like it's good. It's certainly not capitalism. It's some bizarre variation where we bring in workers to do terrible jobs and don't make them citizens.
Well, maybe, and again, that falls on the equal pay issue as well. Employers are hiring these people knowing that they can pay them cheap wages, and no one else is going to do the work. If Americans want change, then they need to be the one to start making the change. If they see something going on where, like working in the fields, they're getting less money, well, speak up. Stand up for, your fellow people, And a lot of these workers are citizens of the United States. But they are stuck in a job. They have no education. They're trying to make a better life for their family. They're scared to say something because, I'm here on a visa, and if I say something, no, they're going to take my visa away and I can't work. These issues we need to address so that we can start making changes.
Okay.
To
me, this is a democratic issue that should just be absolutely right down your alley. Why are we setting up this bizarre, it sounds like something out of a science fiction movie. This is this one group lives on the high and the other group lives below. And it seems like this is an issue that would just be perfect for progressives to grab onto. Is why, with all of our vaunted, belief in capitalism, do we simply not want capitalism, a free market where people are getting paid, and maybe the prices of lettuce rise? That's fine. Let's just let the market figure out what the lettuce will cost, what we would pay the workers to pick it, etc. Why don't we just let that happen? Do you have any idea why that's not on the table even?
Well, I think it comes down to, again, the businessmen all the local agriculture companies, you know, they get together and they control the market. And right now, everybody's so scared, and President Trump makes them scared that if they say something, if they look the wrong way, they're going to be deported. Their visas are going to be pulled. And that affects their home life. They, you know, they can't provide for their children, you know, food. So the Hispanic community, the field workers, they're afraid to say something because they don't want to lose their job. Americans don't want to say something because I'm not going to pay $5 for a head of lettuce. You know, so we have to find common ground where, okay, you know what? If you're a field worker, you have your visa, you're here legally, you can say what you want without being deported. Your job is guaranteed. And if that would happen, you would see a big increase of activity with the Hispanic community. Okay. You know, my mother-in-law is from Mexico, and she's like, no, all right, we're coming up to Border Patrol. Just sit there and look nice. Don't look a wrong way because we're going to get pulled over to the secondary. Like, so we get pulled over to secondary. We have nothing to hide. It's just their mental state where don't rock the boat. Mm-hmm. And we have to eliminate that somehow.
Okay. No, it's fascinating to hear you talk about this because I've tried to understand. I had to find a documentary made in the 50s to understand how the Bracero program got started. Uh-huh. They were talking about it like it's this great thing. I said, oh yeah, we were gonna lose all of our agribusiness to Mexico. So we decided to work with the Mexican government to allow workers come over, which is like, okay, seems like a tremendous betrayal of the workers by their own government, by the Mexican government, working hand in hand with us, working with agribusiness. This whole idiotic, skewed crony capitalist situation here is just so messed up beyond belief. And the ones that are really being hurt, of course, are the Mexican citizens. I mean, imagine a Mexican citizen who's just too proud to come. Mm-hmm. I mean, when we're not telling them not to, when we're not prosecuting the people to hire them, if you got some uber honest Mexican guy who watches all his neighbors get more and more remittances, and meanwhile he says, no, I'm not going to do it. I'm honest. I'm not going to cross the border. It's illegal. I just can't imagine a worse situation. We're doing this bizarre experiment. What do you think about that? What will remedy this situation that we found ourselves in?
Sitting down with the workers, sitting down with the ag companies, because there's a lot of them, and saying, okay, look, I'm the mediator. What's your problem? What's your issues? Let's come together and make something that's good for everybody. Mm-hmm. No one's talking. Again, everything comes down to talk. Get a third person to mediate, but sit down and talk and at least see where you're at. See if there's any movement on both parties. And, you'll be surprised of what will come of it.
That's great. Thank you so much. We could end the video right there. That's great. But it occurred to me, is there anybody who's even discussing these issues now with an eye towards a long-term solution?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I don't.
It's just depressing. This is an important issue to you. Mm-hmm. You said your mother-in-law is from Mexico. Are there any unintended consequences of this policy that you think maybe the world ought to know about a current policy?
Well, work with the Border Patrol agents. My mother-in-law and my partner used to go to the park and just go for a walk because they have roses and she loves roses. But every time they go, they get stopped by Border Patrol. or Border Patrol will see them and then start following them. You know, something's got to change with how the Border Patrol acts and what their job titles are. You know, because she has all her permits, she's legal, but just because they're brown, they get stopped. And, you know, that needs to change.
Okay, so if we had some kind of coherent policy where or a wall, where it wasn't this thought, oh, is he here illegally or not? See, because right now, I'm sure the reason they're doing that is because, you know, if they do this 10 times, maybe, I don't know, 1 out of 10 or 5 out of 10 or 9 out of 10 times when they follow somebody like that, they won't have everything in place. They will be here illegally, and it's something that they have to do. So do you think the solution, I mean, to me, the solution is, let's not have a border in which when I see somebody who looks like they're from Mexico, I have to wonder, are they here legally or not?
Well, I've done work with people that have been caught by Border Patrol, and they get a court date, and they're released, no money, no clothes, no food, no way to contact their family. Now, their court date is like a month, 2 months in advance. A lot of times, their court date is in another state, like Florida. The organization, Yuma County Interfaith, we would help these people get to wherever they're going. Now, by the time they reach us, they're legal. So, you know, the ones that have been caught are legal once they're released from Border Patrol.
They have their
papers, they have their court date, and all of that. So, a lot of people think, oh well, they're caught, and you know now we're stuck with them. They're illegal. No, they're not illegal. So, number one, we have to let people realize, yeah, they were caught trying to sneak over, but they got their papers, they have a court date, and if they don't make that court date, yes, then they're illegal, and, you know, they will be deported. Now, on the other hand, there are illegals here that haven't been caught, you know. So by driving around the city looking for brown people or somebody that they think is you know, not from America, that's racial profiling. And that's never a good thing.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's certainly the consensus now. I mean, up until 30 years ago, it was just considered, you know, police work.
Yeah.
So, you know, I mean, if my life depended on, or if my job were to find out somebody who's here illegally versus not here illegally, I don't know how I could do it without looking at them and looking at what they look like. So, I mean, you know, we could argue about that all day long, but I guess the courts have decided that that's illegal now. So I don't know how they're supposed to do their job. Again, to get to that point where they're not following your mother-in-law around, would you at least agree that if we had some better system in which we didn't have to do this kind of, you know, this kind of tracking down of people, then it would be a net gain for everyone.
Yeah, I mean, it needs to be revamped, relooked at, restructured. Now, you know, building a wall, honestly, I don't see a point in that, because no matter what, if they want to be here, they're going to get here. We do need some kind of border protection, you know, a better program in place, better funding in place, and then we can crack down on the people coming in. Because, I mean, they're not coming here because they want to. They're coming here because they have to in order to survive, because they don't have employment. You know, their crime rate. I've talked to women from Guatemala that had been raped and, beaten because of where they live. And the reason they're coming here is because it's safer. So, we need to help those countries be a better place for their countrymen so they don't want to come to the United States.
This is very, very, very interesting stuff. I've been looking at, I've been watching a lot of stuff about immigration. I haven't heard anybody describe the things you've just described.
Even my family back home, they're like, oh, immigration. It's like, really? You're in Pennsylvania. What immigration issues do you have? Okay? You don't have Hispanic people coming up there and taking your jobs, okay? You don't have this. I mean, come on. People don't realize until they come here, they see it, they've gone to these shelters where these people, immigrants that have been caught, have been processed, and given a court date. They don't know what they've gone through to come here. There was a great documentary on, I think it was Netflix, and I can't think of the name of it. And these people were citizens of the United States, were taken to Mexico and just dropped off. Now you have to make your way back. And they go through the journey that, the local people go through. They hire the coyotes and, all of that. And it's a real eye-opener, but people have to come here to see it. Okay. Otherwise, they got blinders on.
One last question then. We see all the, just the horrible dysfunction that is forcing people to come here. It seems like it's a 100% humanitarian argument. And the problem I think I have with that is that, I mean, goodness, if we did this for every single group that has these horrific conditions, it's the lifeboat, with 30 people and it can only hold 5. What do you do? I mean, isn't there a point at which we've reached a saturation where it's going to hurt whatever we call American society, whatever dysfunction they're running away from? Mm-hmm. Don't we risk just making this a lesser version of what they're running away from if we simply allow everyone who needs to get on the lifeboat to get onto the lifeboat?
Well, it's funny that you mentioned lifeboat, because the first thing that popped in my head was Cuba. Now that we've got communications with Cuba, we're exchanging back and forth. I wonder what's the drop rate with them trying to come to America? What improvements have we done with Cuba, which we won't know for years to come. But at least we've taken that step and we're trying to help their economy. Now, we need to do the same thing with Mexico and South America. Okay. We need to help work on their economy.
It sounds like it's a two-phase approach. Maybe, let some people come, but also work on making it so that they don't have to come.
Well, we need to do both. We need to, I don't want to say crack down on the border, but we need to get tougher on the border. But the other hand needs to be trying to work in their own countries to improve it so they don't want to come.
Great. Thank you so much. Thank you for your time.
Not a problem.
That was Doug Jennings in Yuma, Arizona. I'd like to thank Doug for sharing the wealth of details about life near the U.S.-Mexico border. I hope you consider supporting this series by liking the video and subscribing to the channel. Thanks.